Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating paradox right at the heart of one of Hollywood's most famous estates. You see, when the beloved actor Matthew Perry passed away, fans and the media naturally just assumed his financial legacy would be massive, and honestly, pretty straightforward. But when the legal documents finally surfaced, they revealed a total mystery. I mean, just look at this number, $120 million. That was the estimated net worth Matthew Perry amassed over his incredible career. By the end of Friends, he and his co-stars were making a staggering $1 million per episode. And thanks to syndication, he was reportedly pulling in around $20 million a year just in royalties. So the guy was incredibly wealthy, right? Well, here's where it gets weird. Right after seeing that massive net worth, the probate documents came out and revealed this shockingly low balance. $1,596,914.47. That is the exact amount found in his personal bank account when he died. For a guy making tens of millions a year, that number just does not add up. Section 1. The $12 million mystery. Where did it go? Seriously, we have to ask ourselves, where exactly did the other $118.5 million go? Did he spend it all? Did he lose it in bad investments? Well, no. The answer is actually an absolute masterclass in wealth protection and estate planning. Perry didn't lose his money at all. He successfully hid it, right in plain sight. Section 2. Enter the living trust, bypassing the courts. Okay, so to solve the mystery of the missing millions, here's exactly how this powerful tool works. A living trust is basically a legal arrangement where a person, the settlor, transfers their assets over to a trustee to manage for their beneficiaries. Now, the absolutely crucial phrase here is bypassing the public court system. Unlike your standard will, a trust operates entirely in private. By moving his massive wealth into a trust, Perry made sure his financial affairs wouldn't become public entertainment. And get a load of what he called it, the Alvy Singer Living Trust. Perry famously loved his pop culture references, and this trust was actually named after Woody Allen's character in the movie Annie Hall. It's clever, right? By naming it something obscure like that, he made it even harder for the public or the press to connect the trust assets back to Matthew Perry, the actor. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly who he was looking out for. The trust beneficiaries included his parents John Perry and Suzanne Morrison, as well as his half-siblings from their later marriages, Caitlin, Emily, Madeline, Will, and Maria. He even included Rachel Dunn, an ex-girlfriend he dated back from 2003 to 2005. Because this whole thing was structured through a private trust, he was able to provide for his blended family and a former partner with total privacy. Section 3. The pour-over will, a financial safety net. So what happens to the stuff you just forget to put into the trust? That brings us to a secondary legal instrument Perry set up way back in 2009. It's called a pour-over will. You can think of it like a financial safety net. Step 1. Say you buy a new car or open a checking account, but you forget to actually title it in the name of the trust. It's left outside. Step 2. When you pass away, the pour-over will acts kind of like a catcher's mitt. It grabs that loose asset. And step 3, it securely pours it right back into that private trust bucket. It essentially ensures that everything eventually follows your private master plan. Section 4. The value of privacy. Why go through all this trouble in the first place? Let's compare the two paths for a second. On the one side, we have standard wills and the probate court process. It is entirely public. Literally anyone can go down and look up the records. It's notoriously slow, and because it's so public, it practically invites family disputes and creditors to come out and stake a claim. Now look at the living trust side of things. It is 100% private. The transfer of assets is incredibly fast, and because the whole thing operates completely outside the courtroom, it heavily discourages any legal challenges. For a huge global celebrity, I mean, the choice is pretty obvious. But Perry didn't stop at just a basic trust either. He used some really advanced privacy tactics. For instance, he used a blind trust to keep his real estate purchases completely anonymous. He also placed his Pacific Palisades home, the actual house where he passed away, under an LLC to protect his wealth from lawsuits, just in case a guest or a tenant ever had an accident. And, this is brilliant, his legal documents specifically disinherited any unknown children. Why? To immediately block anyone coming out of the woodwork after his death with a fraudulent paternity claim just to grab a piece of his estate. It was an absolutely airtight setup. Section 5. The $1.5 million mistake, an administrative flaw. If his privacy plan was so flawless, why did we see headlines about that bank account in the first place? Well, the crucial point here is summed up perfectly by probate lawyer Jonathan Forster. The reason why we use trusts as opposed to wills is that trusts also avoid probate, and probate is public. The entire goal of this massive, complex legal web was just to stay out of probate court. Which brings us to the one major flaw in Matthew Perry's plan. He, or maybe his legal team, failed to actually title his personal bank accounts in the name of the Alvy Singer Living Trust. Because those specific accounts were left in his personal name, the pour-over will had to jump in and catch them. But for a will to legally transfer those assets, it has to go through the public probate court. That simple, totally preventable administrative oversight is literally the only reason the public knows he had exactly $1.5 million sitting around in cash.
Section 6. Lessons for your estate. Plan your estate.
So, what does all this high-level celebrity wealth management mean for you and me? Well, here is what you should really take away from this explainer. First off, you absolutely do not need $120 million to need a trust. If you want to save your family from a nightmare of public court battles and massive probate fees, a trust is vital. Second, always establish a pour-over will as your backup safety net to catch any forgotten assets. Third, update your documents regularly whenever life changes. And fourth, and honestly most importantly, ensure your trust is properly funded. As we just saw with Matthew Perry, simply creating the legal paperwork is only half the battle. Close is not enough. If you don't physically move your accounts, your properties, and your assets into the trust's name, they are going to end up in a public courtroom. Your estate has to be fully funded for it to actually stay private. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. If you were to pass away tomorrow and you think your family is totally protected by that trust you set up, if we looked at your bank accounts right now, is your trust actually funded? Because if it's not, your private family business might just become front-page public knowledge. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.